Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download, and we're going to talk Atlanta, and winner Joey Logano is going to call in. We got a lot to discuss. Denny Hamlin, his strategy, the charters, tons of things going on in the sport. It's going to be fun. Let's get to it. The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of Dirty Air on Tuesday here in the Dale Jr. Download studio. And Andrew's here, Dalton's here.
What's up?
Hey.
What's up?
You just jumped right
I
out.
just
That was
wanted
the
to
most
say hi.
abrupt.
All right.
What's up?
Alex is here too.
Shocked
I got a bone to
everybody.
pick with Alex.
Oh,
I made a bad bet.
and it's your fault.
Yes. It's your fault. We will talk about it later. We got a lot to talk about Atlanta and a lot of other things going on in the industry, so it should be a lot of fun. And let's get started.
I got a bone to pick with you too.
Really?
Yeah, you called me.
The cold open is over.
Oh.
All right, moving on.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
You called me
Yeah.
when I was swimming yesterday.
Yeah.
And left a voicemail, basically like, call me a. Oh, you must be asleep right
You
now.
should play it.
And then I called you back.
Where's the voicemail?
And you didn't
Play it.
answer.
This didn't happen.
Hold on, it's on my phone. It's a whole
While,
thing.
while
Get
he
it.
finds it, you called me yesterday too, and I was at the Vital Records counter signing my marriage license
Wow.
while you called.
At the record store?
Yeah, no, like
Oh.
at the
You
at
went
like
to the
ca-
vinyl record store?
No, Vital.
Oh.
Yeah, not
thought-
Vital.
I went to the vinyl
Yeah.
record store.
To get married?
Hey, there's a guy in there. He does things.
Yeah, sometimes he's a notary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pulled out my phone. I was like, oh, you're calling me.
Shoot.
He has it.
I realized I called you instead of like actually
Oh,
played
God.
the voicemail.
Hey, pick up his phone.
Let's
Here,
listen to this.
Listen to this.
Was I a little bit too abrupt here? Too
Oh, that was
rude?
perfect. Oh, that
No,
was
let's
perfect.
listen.
Are you still asleep? Man, you and Dalton both don't answer your phones. I was going to call you today, kind of a little bit on my way home from taking Isla to school about dirty air and some things I had on top of my mind. And guess we'll talk about it some other time. Hope you're getting your rest.
Yep. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you were
What a way-
swimming.
I was swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw you called twice, and I'm like, oh,
Someone's
God, is
dead.
something wrong?
Yeah.
Is there something seriously?
Yeah.
Like, is there a problem?
Yeah. So you guys have your desk at work where you work, right? You do your work. My office is anytime I'm in the car. So like take Isla to school. I'm not going to really try to do anything on the phone with her in the car, but out of respect to fatherhood. But when I drop her off, I'm like, all right, let's get some business done. All right, let's be productive. All right, who can I call and do something that'll be helpful?
Yeah.
And so I ring this dude. I won't use the foul language here, but I ring this dude, and I'm like, of all people that I thought might answer the phone. You know, we give each other a hard time. Mike never answers his phone. By the way, I gave Mike a call, I think, on Sunday. What are the odds of him answering on a weekend? He answered.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big day. But I figured of all people, you would answer the phone.
I was awake, but
I think anytime he's above water, he's pretty good
But
at answering stuff.
you went swimming in a pool, right?
That's right.
Not in the lake.
no, but I will swim in the lake.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Do you drink the water?
I try not.
Yeah.
There are some moments though.
Yeah.
That
Kind of
water.
splashes in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's
Yep. No physical ailments of any kind, no
No,
reaction to the
to-
lake water.
Any Giardia. or-
I mean, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
I
Some
don't know if
people
it sits
Some people
well.
are convinced that the lake water in Lake Norman's really dirty. I mean, I've kind of grown
I
up
could
here.
see it.
I've grown up here. I don't know. Has it
Yeah.
gotten dirtier? The lakes, the lakes get dirtier over time. Like
Maybe litter. I don't know, like people.
No,
like
like-
throwing stuff in.
like the I don't know, the amoebas, the things in the water.
I know
the,
what you're
the
talking about.
bacteria,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Right. So, man-made lake, right? Man-made lakes. It's not like a natural lake. It's a man-made lake. So, what past knowledge do they have about man-made lakes to understand exactly how it needs to be filtrated, right? Through the dam and so forth. All that stuff up in the coves and whatnot. It's just kind of sitting there. It's not really moving around.
That's the water I think you got to be worried about.
brackish water. That's a hell of a
Yeah.
name for it, right?
Yeah.
But I've always wondered,
Do lakes get dirty?
The lakes get dirtier over time. We live here, Lake Norman. We need to know. We
This
need
week
to,
on DJD
we need to have
Reloaded.
these answers.
This week on DJD Reloaded. That's what Dalton said.
This will get pushed beyond Reloaded, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But does anybody have the answer to that?
I know, like, when it rains, it's like it gets dirtier
It
for the
turns
next
over.
couple of days.
Yeah,
but then it gets better.
The lake turns over like a pond or anything naturally.
Right.
But I mean, a man-made lake, right? What are the protocol? What are the
Like,
things?
was it safer swimming in the lake 10 years ago?
right?
Yeah.
Than it is today? Has the water gotten more,
Dirty?
yeah, dirty. I don't know what the word is. Has it
Like contaminated?
Should you
Is
be
that
more?
like-
Yeah. Should
like-
you be more concerned? So, because man, when in the '80s when I moved here, oh man, we swam. We didn't care.
Yeah.
We didn't care. Nobody said, "Hey, don't drink that water. Be careful when you're swimming.
Right.
Keep your mouth closed, whatever." And now it's like, oh man, some people I know are even scared to let their kids get in the water.
I see people post about like sewage spills and
Yeah.
stuff like that in the lake. I'm like,
Is
I
it
don't even
just-
know how that happens.
Is it because we know more about lakes and how they get contaminated?
We
that,
don't
like,
know more. Obviously, we don't because
Well-
we're asking the question.
Well, maybe we don't, but I'm sure
Us
there's
three in this room.
there's lake experts out there. You know, people who dedicate their whole lives studying lakes.
we need them to chime in here.
to chime in.
Give us a call.
I think that's it.
Is Lake Norman safe?
Aren't there like houses and
We're gonna
cars
catch
and
all kinds of hell from the
yeah.
public.
Oh yeah, Duke Energy's not going to be happy.
Yeah, the local government and
That's all right.
whatever. Lake people.
But I've heard there's like
Big lake fans
people.
gonna come after us.
not Big Lake. Big Lake's going to come for us.
Oh yeah, Big
Yeah,
Lake's
Big
coming
Lake's
after
coming
us.
after us. But
like Big Pharma.
exactly, Big Lake.
Big Lake is gonna take a hit out on somebody.
Oh my gosh. He's sleeping
Came
with
to
the
my
fishes.
house last night.
Oh man,
Yeah.
did you get a visit from Big Lake?
Big Lake.
That cracks me up. All right, we can move on. Hey, there's one thing that I forgot. I felt like such an. Oh my God. Where do we begin with Atlanta, man? Atlanta has changed, and will continue to change drastically. Listening to Denny Hamlin talk about Atlanta on his show, Actions Detrimental, he talks about how slick the track was, how much of a handful the cars were. The pace was down over a half a second from last year. Chase Elliott said during the race that if anybody, the cars are so loose, nobody can get to the top and do anything. We saw a couple cars, Eric Jones, for example, get to the top and make some work, and Chase Elliott said if anybody can get up there and get their car handling, they'd just drive by the field, which Eric would do at times. His car was secure enough. He'd eventually fade on the back end of these runs because he'd burn the right front off, or maybe he did eventually get loose. But anyways, what we are seeing is what we hoped we would see with the new configuration of Atlanta. It's heading toward that old wore-out slick Atlanta that we had before. And it'll get there very quickly. If you go outside, if you ever been to Atlanta, a lot of people probably haven't been to Atlanta that are listening to this show. It's almost like it's on the coast. If you walk outside the racetrack, the ground is a bit of a sandy texture and a bit of a kind of a beige tan color and very kind of sandy. And in those environments, there's a lot of pine trees and all that, very natural, native to the area. And in those environments, racetracks age more rapidly. It's hard to believe that it would do this, but as the wind blows over the course of the year, it takes that dirt and that sand and almost sandblasts the surface of anything, right? The racetrack, the exterior walls of a facility, everything is treated more harshly in those environments like Daytona, Rockingham, Darlington, Atlanta. It's all sort of in that geographical sort of vein of the sand hills and sandy areas of the Southeast. And so the track is basically aging half a second a race. Every month it's losing a half a tenth to a tenth in pace and grip. And so which is awesome. We should all be thrilled about that. What's happening is that handling's going to, handling, they got to the racetrack and a lot of them went, wow, we are not, handling very well. We probably don't have all of the things we need to get the balance where I'd like it in terms of packing the downforce into the car. And so a lot of teams, and a lot of teams are probably apprehensive to do that for fear of putting too much drag in the car and it not running at all. So they're in this weird sort of transition, a very challenging space as crew chiefs and engineers when they go to Atlanta. How slick is it going to be? Each time it's going to take this step forward in aging and losing grip. Very challenging for teams to nail it. And so while I called Atlanta a hybrid out of the gate, I don't think you put it in Daytona and Talladega category.
It doesn't feel the same.
It isn't the same.
Yeah.
NBC, NASCAR and NBC would love to
say that.
They're all the same track. Atlanta, Talladega, Daytona, they're the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's drafting tracks, which is a new term that's been coined by, I guess, the stat guys.
I've even heard super speedway be thrown around a few times this week, which I don't know if that's necessarily the right
It's a mile and a half.
Right.
So
it's a small super speedway almost.
Yeah. So what I really get annoyed with is how there's those terms like short track, intermediate, 1 mile oval, that's pretty straightforward. Super speedway, those were terms that adhered strictly to a size.
Right, a distance of a racetrack. Yeah.
They're not just loose terms that you just go, wow, this is a fast track and man, they're racing side by side. Super speedway. And so it's not a super speedway. A super speedway is anything 2 miles and larger. You could consider Michigan a super speedway, but I wouldn't. But definitely Talladega and Daytona are super speedways. The rest of the tracks are simply speedways. Okay, that was in the past. Those terms held strictly to those those type of parameters, and now it's like there's been a big turnover in generations in the age of the people that work in our industry and what they know about the past or don't know about the past of the sport. And so there's the terms have loosened, right? And so it's like, we'll just call it a super speedway because it just seems like one or acts like one. Well, that's not really how it works. And so same way with, there was never a term called this is a drafting track. There was no draft. There was never a term like that's a new term, right? That was coined by. I want to put it on the Racing Insights guys. I really do, because they had no other way to describe the new Atlanta. And
because it's not it's a mile and a half, but it's not what you think a mile and a half is.
Yeah, the stat guys were wanting to say. So the stat guys will say, "All right, man, we need to give you stats, right? If you're an announcer, we need to give you stats on who's good at these type of races. But this isn't an intermediate, and this isn't a mile and a half cookie cutter anymore. It's kind of like Daytona, Talladega." It's a drafting track, so we're going to call it a drafting track, and that also means Talladega and Daytona. So the drivers that do good at drafting tracks will compile their statistics from Daytona, Talladega, and say these guys should do well here at this drafting track, which is what they're calling Atlanta. And it's so annoying because now that's like this new term, and now there's this new there's these new statistics being compiled around drivers that are winning races and running well at drafting tracks. But Atlanta will cease to exist as a drafting track in a very short period of time, if not now, if not the next race.
Is that a good thing for Atlanta?
It's fine.
Really?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not.
Is that just going to make it a one groove?
No, not at all. Nope.
Oh.
So, but back to, I think what I'm trying to say is compiling stats for drafting tracks. In my opinion, is a waste of energy, because in just a race or two, if not sooner, if it ain't already happened, Atlanta has morphed away from the high grip super speedway style racing that we get at Daytona and Talladega, and now it is a handling racetrack. And yes, they draft, but the draft works everywhere. At every racetrack, there's a draft.
Like it'll look a little bit more like a Michigan race.
It'll look
almost.
more like a Michigan race Texas and all of the other 1.5 mile tracks. And they will use all of this place. They will run soon enough, like they will be running right against the wall. They're getting more and more comfortable with it, and when they start to pack the downforce back in the cars to help with this lack of grip and lack of comfort, they're going to get better at running the wall, better at using more throttle in the corner. You saw them. Those guys driving to the bottom of the racetrack and picking up like 6 or 7 rows. One time, Bowman went down into turn 3. He was losing his ass on the back straightaway, got put 3 wide on the inside, lost about 2 or 3 rows, probably went from 4th to 7th or 8th, drives down into 3 to the bottom and gains it all back, drives right back up to 3rd and gets back in line off of 4 because of all the cars up at the top of the racetrack having to get out of the gas because of how bad the next gen is at dirty air. And so they can't follow each other with this car. You can't follow somebody into the corner. You just can't do it. It's frustrating to watch, but it's a challenge, which is also fun to watch in a weird way. But yeah, I just feel like that Atlanta is changing rapidly, and with that, I think the sport needs to stay on top of that and start changing the style of the package. Right, for the Xfinity Series, we run a bit of a super speedway, Daytona, Talladega kind of package, and I think it's time where they can start to open the cars up a little bit, because they're just going to have to lift. Right, it won't make them go much faster, if not at all, because they're going to have to lift because they'll be going quicker at the end of the straightaway, heading into a turn where there isn't grip, there isn't comfort. They'll be off throttle more, which would produce, I think, a lot of interesting moments and some good passing and racing. Man, it was so hard to watch. I know a lot of people might not have seen this or really thought this was a big deal, but in the Xfinity race and in the Cup race, there's times when the leader has such an advantage because everybody behind him is struggling for grip, right? They're sliding around. You could see, like, once a guy got the lead, especially in the Cup race, he was pretty safe until somebody really put something great together, which the Penske cars eventually did, to win the race. But if you could get that lead, you almost were insulated from all of the struggles and problems that everyone else had in the field with the dirty air. They don't have a ton of power, right? So the guys that are struggling and having to lift a little bit more than the leader can't recover, right? Can't produce runs, can't recover. And so, man, if you got the lead, you were in really, really a great spot for a majority of that race. So I think NASCAR may look at that weekend and go, great racing, not touching a thing. That's awesome. But I think with how fast and rapidly Atlanta's changing, the sport needs to stay on top of it and keep making sure that we're taking the type of race car we need to this track as it continues to change. Big crash in the race from Kyle Larson. I want to cover that. We saw him get sideways, and you typically. I guess I was really taken aback by the quickness and the snap of the car and how it was out of his hands. I don't love that, man, this guy got loose. Okay, he gets loose, right? It's like he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you kind of lose it, you're done.
There are a lot of scary hits, but like that one was especially scary because it just like I don't know,
Bad
it just happened
spot.
so fast,
The
and it was
angle
at the
of-
complete angle of the corner where
the angle of impact was nasty, and it doesn't. Briscoe comes in hard contact there. So when you're in a wreck, right, and you have an initial hit that's really hard, you don't want another bam bam. You don't want a bam bam kind of deal in terms of if you can survive. I guess luckily the car did what it was supposed to do, but those are having two hard hits like a bam bam like that in a wreck it's a bad spot for that driver to be in, and we're very lucky that it looks like Larson escaped uninjured. And I guess one thing I wanted to say is I want to commend NASCAR. I want to commend anyone who had anything to do with the changes that they made to this car to allow it to destroy itself. I promise you, if Larson hit the wall with the next gen when it was weeks into its original launch, that car would have not folded up at all, and he would have taken all of that energy, and it would have been a severe experience for him physically. NASCAR and the drivers and everybody over a period of time, it was a lot of work and took a long time to take things out of this car to allow it to crunch, absorb, destroy itself. And now these cars are tearing up like they're supposed to in these type of accidents. Look, I'd love to have race cars that ran into walls and didn't get damaged. I mean, as an owner, I don't want to fix damage, but the drivers can't take all that energy and can't absorb those impacts, and that's what's happened. That's what will happen and had happened with the next gen in the past. When the car would hit the wall, it would not crunch, it would not absorb energy. The driver took it all, and so that was a great study and a great case in how far forward we are in being able to. I mean, that's as hard as you're probably going to wreck that car. And that's probably one of the more severe angles that you're going to hit the wall. And the driver got out, and he seems perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the more violent wrecks we've seen. And, I go back to someone like Kurt Busch, right? Like he's taken, he's forced to kind of retire because of a hit that, in my opinion, wasn't even as hard as this one. So it's a big improvement, I think, from NASCAR.
There is a problem. So if you go back to Fontana or in the first year with the next gen in practice, Ross Chastain had a moment in turn 3 and 4. Same thing, same sort of oversteer, overcorrect into the wall. I'm curious, I guess, if it's the steering rack. What is it that made Larson not? I'm not saying, hey man, I expected him to save that slide, right? But why couldn't he? Tail slap? Why did the car just take a right and then it was like it's like the controller batteries
died,
went dead, right? I mean, the car just took a beeline to the wall. What is that? Why? They went away from a traditional steering box to this steering rack, and the rack is super quick. And it doesn't really steer the tires faster. But the way the rack works versus a traditional mechanical box just seems to be faster and twitchier. But maybe we can talk to some drivers about that and say, hey man, is there something you would change about the next gen car that would give Larson a chance to not hit the wall as hard as he did at the angle he did? I'm not saying Larson shouldn't have wrecked, but when he gets loose and the car just takes a right and it's a direct straight run into that's something I think they could look into and say, hey man, what is there anything we could change in this car in terms of the steering and the geo that would give the drivers a chance, right, to kind of take a different approach, change the trajectory of the car or whatever, right? So I don't know. That's the one thing that bugged me about the whole thing.
It was reminiscent of Michael McDowell's crash at Texas in qualifying. Yeah, it was very similar. How the car dipped in and then just shot right towards the wall. I thought that was immediately I thought of that. But it was interesting how when I saw him hit the wall, I was panicked almost. I was like, he's hurt. And then for him to come over the radio immediately, it was like this sense of relief that I was glad to feel. But man, I'm glad he's all right. Him and Briscoe both. I'm glad they're both
comparing next gen crashes, it reminded me the most of, I'm going to call it a super speedway race, but Daytona Blaney last year,
the night
just
race.
Hammering that wall in terms of same type of impact, similar spot in the corner.
Yeah.
They've kind of both walked out fine. So.
Yeah. I think Blaney's hits were hard on him physically. But I think they've made some really good gains with this car to get it to where, unfortunately, when guys are in those type of wrecks, they've got a better shot at it.
They had to have, for sure.
Yeah, it destroys a race car, and it's expensive. But, I'd rather that happen than the driver take any of that energy. Let's talk about Denny Hamlin.
Hold on. Is that car going to go in the graveyard? I think you texted that.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I don't remember.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I think I'll be shocked if a next-gen car ever ends up in the graveyard. I will be shocked. So, the next-gen car is 3 pieces. You got the center section, then the front clip bolts to that, the rear clip bolts to the back of the center section, right? And Larson's car, when it comes back from the shop, if it was the old car, right, not the next gen, they would take the engine out, any mechanical driveline stuff. They would take brakes and calipers. They would take all of those things out as seat. And then what would be left is the full entire cage, front to rear, and the body, and that's ruined because if it would have been such a hard hit, it would probably have tweaked and twisted the center section of this full roll cage, and they probably wouldn't even care if it didn't. It would have been such a hard hit, they would just probably say, whatever, we're just going to build a new car, this one's done. That car could come to the graveyard. The next gen is in 3 pieces. When it gets back to HMS, they're going to take all of the drivetrain and brakes and everything off of it. They're going to unbolt the bent, destroyed front clip. They're going to unbolt the rear clip that's destroyed and see if the center section is salvageable. And it more than likely may be. I'm not sure. But even if it isn't, what am I going to put in the graveyard? Just a center section? There's not going to be any body panels. It won't even be recognizable. I might know what it is, but you're walking around a graveyard that has full-bodied wrecked race cars. There's over 80 in this thing, and then you're going to have this little roll cage center section sitting over here. And that's a next gen.
That's Larson's.
That's Larson's Atlanta next gen wreck. You're going to look at that and go, okay. What's the point in bringing that even over here, right? If you can't have this whole, you need the whole car, right, to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be surprised, I guess. I would take it. If they said, hey, man, you can have this bent-up, mangled front clip, I would probably throw it in the bushes out there in the graveyard. Yeah. Let's talk about Denny Hamlin. Denny.
Our buddy.
Yes.
What a weird day he had.
So people are, I didn't really catch on Denny's show. He did talk about how uncomfortable the cars were. How low the grip was.
He described, at least after the race, it was like you were dealing with a log jam of a couple of lanes. Yep. And he said, at that point, I was just trying to avoid wrecks. I was trying to get 20 points out of the day. That was the only goal, is just to walk away with 20 points.
Kyle Petty, he says this in his interview post-race. Kyle Petty ripped him up. What
did he say? I missed it.
Well, just Kyle said, man, I've never in my life, in all of my years, heard a guy go, yeah, I'm just trying to get 20 points today.
Yeah.
And Kyle's right. Kyle's right. I know there's a history there. They've had that problem at Dover that people think that there's still a little bit of a rift between these guys. And Kyle's been critical of Denny in the past, but Kyle's right. Listen, I've rode in the back at Daytona, Talladega. I've tried that strategy. I've failed. I don't know. It might have worked once. It didn't. I don't know. But so I feel like I've got enough experience and have made enough mistakes to be able to comment on this, much like probably Kyle Petty as well, right? People give Kyle a hard time when he gets critical and has a hot take, but Kyle Petty's been around the sport for freaking ever, and he's seen a lot of shit. You don't have to be the one actually climbing the mountain. If you watch enough people go up it, you can figure out kind of how it gets done. And so maybe Kyle doesn't have a championship or all these wins, but he's been around and watched enough of this sport and observed enough racers and people doing things to understand, how to give a reasonable take. And so I feel like he's kind of spot on here. I mean, if I'm a Denny Hamlin fan, and if I'm wanting, look, Denny's probably going to come on out of this okay, right? He's probably going to make it to the next round, and this will all get forgotten.
He's +2 right now.
Yeah.
But he's got 2 good tracks ahead of him.
Well, again, I mean, this will be a nothing burger if he
advances. Yeah, because then it's a complete reset.
Yeah. But that was out of character for Denny.
I was just waiting for him to do something.
Yeah, and a guy that's like, hey, he's. It was just out of character. I don't know how else to say it. I was a little surprised by that approach by him.
It's not the first time he's done that.
Yeah, but
hang in the back. But at least, like,
the thing about,
you see him more often when he does do that strategy.
It doesn't. It's harder. It's harder for that strategy to work at Atlanta because the track width at a place like Daytona and Talladega, where you would use that same style, maybe you got more room to kind of work your way forward, and there's it was the log jam that made it. He's sitting there going, okay, I've tried this strategy before. It is what it is. I had a bad qualifying. I'm not going to be in a hurry. Hopefully there's a lot of attrition. There wasn't. That didn't work in his favor. I sat in the back of a 25-car pack at Talladega thinking, surely they're going to crash, and they didn't. And I rode across the finish line feeling like a fool. And so, look, they didn't have the attrition and the crashes that Denny was anticipating. Of course, the one they have, he's in it off turn 4. But when he's sitting back there with 40 to go, and you're watching the race and how the race has been going and how when you're watching the pack and how the pack has been behaving, you're thinking, I don't know how in the hell he thinks he's going to drive up through this, but it was, he never went on the attack. It was like he wasn't going to make that move until the big crash happened, right? He was going to hope that the crash took a lot of people out of this race and making that, 20 points more attainable. So, I don't know, man. I was a little surprised by it. I think he'll probably still advance. If he doesn't, then this is a bigger story.
I think, you look at, especially this year, with the super speedways, and I'll throw Atlanta into this, but they're talking about saving fuel.
You're hurting my argument.
I know. But they're talking about saving fuel and how important track position is, especially this year. And we even kind of looked at the results yesterday, and it was like 8 of the 12 drivers who earned stage points, so the guys who've been up front all day, finished in the top 10. So if you were up front early in the day, if you're up front late, it kind of ended up paying off for you. I feel like the strategy, and again, this is totally Tuesday morning quarterbacking it, but the strategy, I feel like at these types of places, when it's a log jam, is you got to get up front.
Well, here's what I want to say about it, is that we know that Denny does this. Like, Denny is the guy who we always see. Like, he's almost like the marker of the field, where when things starts getting a little crazy, all of a sudden you see the 11 just drop back. Yeah. Like, he is the first guy that people go, oh, he's sensing something, he's going back. So it wasn't necessarily out of character to see him do this. I think what I am seeing from this, and it's something that I face even in my own life, is a little bit of analysis or paralysis by analysis. Like he's going over the numbers, he's thinking strategy, he's trying to play chess, and then the move never comes. And then you're waiting. He's one wreck away from looking like the smartest guy on the track.
Yeah.
And so it just never happened. And it ended up collecting him, which is unfortunate. And so you want to think that he's, playing smart. And unfortunately, it was a disappointing day for him. But, I agree with you. I think I'd like to see him run up at the front and give it a try. But I'm not sure where like the go button was for him.
Let's look at it like this. Maybe we can approach it this way. Give me an analogy in any other sport where that strategy is successful.
It's almost like we were talking about this yesterday. It's like your star player, you're not going to play him as much because you're trying to rest him or save him for the end. It's almost like load management in basketball.
Right, or like sitting your starters in the last regular season game before the playoffs,
exactly.
Right? Which is like, this is a playoff race. It's not like it's the last regular season race, but I guess his thinking is like, it's such a crapshoot. But I guess going into it, if you think that it's going to be like a regular drafting track, it is a crapshoot. But then you go into Atlanta and it's a handling race, and you're like, well, now I got a handling race on my hand. But again, like,
it's a hybrid.
It should have
that's the best way to put it, I think.
It should have clicked earlier in the race, but I don't know. I mean, he's got a strategy he goes by that's on.
I think you nailed it. Like, you're waiting for the go, and you just never figured out when that go button.
Yeah, the go never happened.
When it hit it.
And I wonder how much the issues in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, he was starting the back.
Steered them toward this unique, strategy. Did they go into the race with that? Did they? Was this the strategy on Wednesday? Surely not, right?
Right.
Surely not.
I don't think so.
And I bet they had multiple strategies depending on where they qualified. And maybe when this happened, they were like, well, let's try this. And
to be fair, Daniel Suarez started 30th and finished second.
Drove to the front. Yeah.
So,
dude, I mean, you can pass. It's not like they can't pass.
Yeah.
But I just, it's easy to be a Monday morning or Tuesday morning quarterback here.
But it's like at that type of race, first race of the playoffs, it's Denny's kind of that guy who's good at this style racing. So you expect to see him, and then he was a non-factor all day. It's just weird.
Now that might help my argument. Maybe what was happening there at Atlanta was not that style of racing.
Drafting style. We might have found that's the missing piece.
That's the diagnosis.
That's the missing
piece. We diagnose it as that.
Yeah.
My concern for Denny is...
And again, no. I want to make sure. And I know. I want to say
you're good.
Listen, none of us were riding in that car.
Yeah.
All the guys, all of them in the field complained about balance and issues. And where Denny was, the balance and issues were the worst. Again, yes, some drivers drove through the field, made their way toward the front, found that track position. Denny never did, and it didn't seem like he ever could.
Right.
And late in the race, when it was time for him to try to go forward, he was not finding his way forward. It wasn't comfortable, didn't feel good about it. Apparently, only Eric Jones and only a couple of cars were able to even go to the top of the racetrack because they were so uncomfortable. And so, hey, yes, maybe the strategy was not a great one, but I also don't think that he had a capable race car. We can't just rule that. You can't just rule that out. And say,
it just wasn't a good day
because it was a very challenging day aerodynamically and balance wise. So yeah, I mean, at +2, I'd be very, very concerned. And
I mean, Bristol he's good at, and then Watkins Glen.
But Bristol,
his like
we had
one
the
road
tire
course
thing. We don't know what.
Hey, last year
kind of race
he won the tire race.
I agree, but that's still a challenge. That's still a.
And let's not forget last year, Logano gets taken out by a wreck. Truex gets taken out by a wreck in the Bristol
I'm not saying he's safe, but
so
I'm just saying
you don't know where the broomstick's coming that's going to stick into the tire spokes.
Exactly.
You don't know when that's coming.
And that's my concern for him is not like when he is under control, when he is in control of everything and things don't happen outside of his control, No one better, right? There's no one better. But he blew a motor at Sonoma this year. That could happen to Watkins Glen. His teammates wrecked out at Bristol last year. It could happen to him. I just don't know why you don't want to have the ball in your hand at the first. Like that's, I guess, like I said, I think it's a little analysis by paralysis.
Like Cindric, basically, who's plus 27. Had 2 great stages,
right?
And DBC was talking about this. Like Austin Cindric ended up finishing 10th, but he was 2nd in stage 1, 1st in stage 2. All those freaking points that he ended up getting, and I mean he's sitting in a great spot. Yeah. Like that's a good start to the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of DBC, Alex Bowman had the best average running position of the entire race.
I can see that.
It was like 5.6 or something like that.
He was motivated. I think.
Did
he had
DBC
a little bit of extra
that?
fire under his ass.
DBC put him in a terrible situation last week.
Yeah.
Specifically
I know
Brett.
what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a fun media day because of it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But anyways, I think that did motivate Alex to go out there and do a great job. Looking at the points. I
have one quick question for you about Atlanta. Earlier this year, you said, or maybe it was last year, you said Atlanta's the hottest ticket on the schedule. Is it still the hottest ticket on the schedule?
Well, it's tough. There's 2 ways to look at it. I think it is I think it's a great ticket.
Okay.
But right now, I said that earlier in the year. Right now, the hottest ticket's the next race. Because it's the playoffs. It's, we're coming up on Bristol. We've got Kyle Larson at plus 15. You got Kyle Larson at plus 15, Denny at plus 2, Ty Gibbs at plus 1, Brad Keselowski at minus 1, Daniel Suarez at plus 22. I mean, there's some compelling things happening right now in the playoffs that make me excited for the next race. But in terms of, hey, man, I want to get you – I'm going to buy you a ticket. I'm going to send you to a race. You're going to be entertained. And I've no concern. Atlanta's in that short list. Right? If there's 3 or 5 races on that list, Atlanta's on it.
I think with Bristol, especially now with the tires reacting the way they do, that goes back up in the power rankings.
Yeah,
I think it has the top spot.
Yeah, I agree.
Burton and Briscoe, I think, are already in a hole where
I
think they're cooked. Yeah. I think Truex.
Burton and who?
Burton and Briscoe.
Okay.
I could see Truex just with the experience he has, maybe climbing his way up. But I mean, The Athletic, by the way, they wrote a great article from Media Day, and it was who could be a surprise first round exit, and a lot of drivers anonymously voted for Martin Truex Jr. So and some cited just because of momentum, he just hasn't had the speed this year. But I don't know if you can fully count Truex out.
He deserves it. He deserves that distinction.
Of what?
Yep.
Of
first out,
being an early exit. Yeah.
When Harvick asked him earlier this year who was the better racer between me and Chase Elliott, he picked Chase.
Oh,
yeah, payback.
My good friend Martin Truex Jr.
Revenge.
Yeah. So yeah,
screw that guy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm petty. All right, I am petty as hell. All right. We will go hunting though.
Okay.
Yeah. See you soon, buddy.
We'll sort it out. Yeah. So the playoffs are. That was a interesting first race. Joey Logano comes out of nowhere like he does every freaking year.
That's my biggest holdup right now is going into the playoffs. Logano, I mean, like, if he didn't win at Nashville, he wouldn't have even been in the playoffs. Now he's on in the next round. It's an even number year. Yeah. I have no idea what to think of him. Like, he's a complete wild card in my book. Like, he can make the Champ 4, he could get out the next round.
Well, they've been doing this every year.
I know.
Penske push.
It's not like this is not a new thing. It's exactly how his seasons have gone. I think even when he won the championship a couple years back,
it wasn't a stellar year.
Yeah, he's like a 12th place driver all year.
I mean, Blaney, I guess you could say the same thing.
He was.
Yeah.
He was like in the latter half of the.
I just don't know. Like, if I redid my playoff grid right now,
you can't.
I know I can't, but if I did, how do I reconsider? Do I put Logano in my Champ 4?
He's a two-time champion.
I understand that.
But
it's a weird. You don't think of before this race. You look at Logano and be like, yes, he's championship. He's a championship contender. Really?
100%. He's Joey Logano.
I understand that. It's just
he's in a Penske car.
I know.
They're always good at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I could make that argument you're making. If you look at the playoff grid, right, Andrew, what we're going to do is we're going to take each car, and we're looking at this, people listening to the show and watching the show aren't looking at this, but if you just take each individual car, you're going to put them out on the racetrack with Joey Logano. Who's going to win?
Head to head?
Head to head. There's a lot of beatable cars if you're Joey Logano, right? He's not just, dog
yeah.
I mean, if you look at him and say, all right, William Byron versus Joey Logano at Bristol, that's pretty even, right?
I think so.
Pretty even money, right? Alex. How's Alex doing back here?
Good.
So, Alex, this is where you can help us. Dirty Mo Doe, Alex.
What can I do?
All right, so we're all trying to make an argument for Joe Logano either, being this big shocker,
yes,
or being competitive and being a true, legitimate playoff threat. And I was saying, man, if you just look at the playoff grid and you're gonna take Joey and put him out on the racetrack against all of these guys individually, it's pretty even money in pretty much every head-to-head. If you put Joey head-to-head with William Byron at Bristol, it's not bad odds for Joey.
No, he's definitely the underdog in all those.
Yeah, but it's close.
Oh.
Byron, maybe not. If you go with Chase Elliott's Bowman, he might be the favorite. Cindric favorite.
Okay. Let's say Blaney, Bell, Reddick, and
you would take Cindric over Logano?
Blaney, he's probably even
he's
with.
Saying Logano.
He's even with Blaney.
Cindric.
Even with Blaney.
Really?
Oh.
I would say.
Bell's probably better. Reddick's better. Chase Elliott and Joey, I think, are flat.
Flat, yeah, I agree.
Joey and Suarez? Joey.
Probably Joey.
Kyle Larson, obviously. Hamlin, I'll take
Denny.
Hamlin.
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs, Joey? Flat.
But
Bristol?
But the Joe
Anywhere.
Gibbs, yeah, Joe Gibbs gets a lot of credit in gambling, but yeah,
Ty Gibbs,
Keselowski, Burton, Truex,
season
Briscoe, flat, if not Joey, every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's literally
like 6 drivers,
less than 6.
Yeah.
All right, Bell.
Ty
Reddick,
Gibbs outran Logano in the points though this year.
It doesn't matter. Bell. We're not looking at points. We're just saying, hey, it's playoff time. You're gonna put them on the racetrack head to head. You're gonna have to bet $100 head to head. Joey, each individual guy. I think Bell, Reddick, Larson, and Hamlin are the only 4 that I would take over Logano comfortably.
I would agree.
It'd be a terrible bet to make otherwise because it's pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts Joey right there in the top 5 or 6. There we go.
No surprise.
We've just made Joey Logano a contender.
Right here on Tuesday, just now.
Or I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's bookmark that.
Hey, I got him in my Final 4, I believe.
Do you?
I believe so. We had it on the table last week.
Just a social clip.
He's got it hidden somewhere. We should have that on a whiteboard where we just look at it immediately and go,
just
here's
reference
all of our Final 4. I mean, at this point in the year.
I'll get it on. I'll get it ready for next year.
Not on camera, but we just could be able to just look
for
at it
us.
quickly. Yeah.
I like that.
So moving on, should we just move on to the charter conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is so interesting, man. I could not believe this came down the way it did, but apparently, right, everybody signs the charter agreement except for 2311, which is not a big shocker. Front Row also didn't sign, which is a shocker.
I think they both, at least the explanation was they're both kind of looking to expand to that third car, which could maybe be why they held out.
Right. And so Denny's listening to this, and he's going to text me all the reasons why I'm wrong. But we always have when I talk charters, we always have a Denny Hamlin conversation later in the week. But I was really, really surprised that the teams split. Now, I felt like when they started meeting with NASCAR individually, that NASCAR had gained the upper hand, right? If the teams are all going to band together and really have leverage, they had to stay together, right? And so when NASCAR starts meeting with them individually, that was going to erode at the trust and confidence and teamwork that the RTA had. And a lot of their leverage as a group went away. Now, Denny and 2311, they believe they have all this leverage, and their leverage has not changed. and that's fine. But when NASCAR started meeting with the teams individually, they could get them in the room and go, "Oh, come on, man, you guys, you don't want to, make this. Come on, and they could have these conversations and soften them up a little bit. And over time, it seemed to work. And I know they went back and forth on a lot of different things, and that we've had some conversations, and we've heard Justin Marks and other people coming out, and Jeff Gordon, all these people commenting that, look, it's probably the best deal we were going to get. NASCAR made it clear that was the last they were done negotiating. Didn't get everything we wanted. There were some things we liked, some things we didn't like, and I feel like that's expected. That's part of the process. The deal's not eternity. You go, you get the opportunity to negotiate this again down the road. And the idea in my head is that every time it's renegotiated, the teams will acquire more, right? NASCAR's not going to dial it back, tighten it up, make it. NASCAR's not going to take away. The teams, much like we've seen in other sports, when these sort of discussions start happening, the teams acquire more over time. They didn't get everything they wanted. Yes, that's unfortunate. I'm sure Denny Hamlin sitting at this table would tell us why that's terrible for his team going forward and how this doesn't work for them. But in a handful of years, they get a chance to renegotiate this and try to acquire more of what they're after. NASCAR has all the leverage, and they knew it, and they tried to work with the teams, but I think at some point, Jim France and Steve Phelps and those guys go, we've worked around, we've ran around, we've danced around this bush for months and months and months. We've made certain adjustments, but there's things that we're standing firm on. This is it. And so pretty I thought that the teams would hold out longer, I guess. I was a bit surprised that they signed. I didn't see that coming. But and I felt the teams would hold out longer, but apparently apparently the message was clear from NASCAR to these teams that signed that this is it. Take it or leave it.
There's some great quotes from an Athletic article that Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi worked on, and they talked to team owners anonymously. One team owner said they put a gun to our head and we had to sign. And then on the other side of it, another team owner said it's a better agreement than we currently have now. I feel like I can build a business model around it. So it's like, I don't know. For me, it's still kind of, I don't know exactly how firm NASCAR was. I mean, it sounded like they sent over the contract at 6 o'clock on Friday night and gave them midnight to sign. At least that's what Bob Jenkins said.
Right.
Apparently, they only changed a couple pages, is from what I heard. It's not like they had to read the whole 105 page. And some of that stuff didn't change, but still, 6-hour timeline, race weekend is a little. Cutting it close. I
mean, I know everyone always asks, "Oh, are you gonna get a Cup charter?" Like this, obviously, I feel like would be of interest to you. Is this? And I know you were kind of talking about the teams will eventually get more and stuff, but you've talked about how you kind of want that, iron fist, the big Bill France, this is what we're going to do, and you're going to either join the team or you can, we'll see you later type of deal. Like, is this the good approach from NASCAR in terms of just laying down the law? Like, this is it, we're done?
I like it. I like I want to be sensitive to the owners, and if I was an owner, I could absolutely understand fighting to get everything you could get. The sponsorship landscape is really, really challenging. And, listen, this doesn't help. As the money for the charters goes up, it's trying to balance the lack of funding and sponsorship that the teams have,
right? So
that they can have a better bottom line, right? But it makes things more difficult for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series because now some of those partners can look beyond into the Cup Series and go, that I can spend my money there, the same amount of money, maybe even I'm spending in the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series, and get an impact or have an involvement. Maybe not an entire full season, but so I have reason to not like certain things about it, but if I was an owner in the Cup Series, yes, I would want everything. I would want every dime I could get from NASCAR, and I could make a hell of an argument for all the money coming in from the networks and everything else. I do know running NASCAR is expensive, very expensive, and running the racetracks and all that is expensive. And so I know that doesn't happen on its own, and some of that, that TV money is responsible for the sport moving forward. But what it should do is make the charters more valuable. So the price of the charters and what charters sell for should increase, right? That should happen. And if the teams got a big bump, specifically like these teams in the back that were guaranteed around $5 million, now guaranteed around $8.5 million or whatever it is, right? I'm just saying numbers, but if you're a team that runs 30th averages a 30th place finish, and you instantly are going to make $3 to $4 million more a year, that's awesome. It doesn't mean now you're going to be flush with cash and it's just this massive profitable business, but it's better. And so that would then make the charter value go up. And when you would sell or want to sell that charter or want to buy a charter, it's going to be, the asking price will be higher. I feel like that the charters should continue to rise. The value of the charters should continue to rise. The idea, I think, what a lot of investment firms and a lot of people say, like Michael Jordan and a lot of people in these investment firms that are considering NASCAR and certain entities like the Yankees and so forth that are looking into it, they're looking at these big sports franchises that they've built and thinking, how much higher can the value of this Major League Baseball team or this NFL team, how much more, where is the ceiling? We may be, there may be some more room, but these, NFL teams are selling for $6 billion, right? In the 90s, you could, the NFL teams are selling for under $1 billion, $800, $600 million. And so, Washington was sold to Dan Snyder for $800 or something like that. I can't remember, but it was amazing, huge number back in the day, right? Now that team just sold last year for $6 billion. And so if you're one of those folks, right, from that part of the world, you're looking at NASCAR and going, I can own a team for like $24 million bucks, and the sky, there's so much growth potential, right? And so 2311 believes that. But they cannot get there. They can't get that growth potential unless NASCAR creates that value for them in this new agreement, right? And that's why they're fighting and trying to, because that model makes sense to them, right? And so, I think I think the charters I will not be shocked if the charters go to, at one day down the road, and maybe in a very short period of time, maybe it might be 5 years, are $150 million. That is, to me, like a reasonable, like if you're an owner, that's like a reasonable trajectory, yeah. And a hope, right, that you'll get to that value one day. And there'll be people out there wanting to pay that, right, to buy and get into this deal. But I don't know, I don't think listen, there are people, I think, that are thinking that, whoa, this is a storm. Like some teams signing, 2 teams not signing. Whoa, my God, this is unprecedented, uncharted. It is uncharted, but I don't see where this is going to cause any problems. What? I don't see.
Can NASCAR take their charters? Like
they won't do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to take away Michael Jordan's charters. Never. They're going to try their hardest.
But then why not say that? You know, like why not put it in there like
they can't say
it's permanent and we can't take them?
Well, I think that's a big.
That's
like,
a huge
point. To. That's my question. Yeah. If they're not going to, why not just say they're not going to?
Because I mean, you.
I guess there's the circumstance of someone abusing the charter, and
no, I don't think that's a concern, really. I don't know if that's really a concern, but I think that there may be a little bit of a disconnect between what NASCAR thought the charter system would be and what the teams think the charter system is. And so
now when you're renegotiating, you can't find that common ground.
Right. So if I take myself back to when the charters were created, the charter system wasn't called a franchise for a reason. They weren't considered franchises.
Good point.
And so they were considered this was going to lock you into the field. We're getting rid of, our traditional style of provisionals, qualifying, champions provisional, and all that stuff. And you're going to have this many teams guaranteed a spot so that they can then go to their sponsors and say, we're guaranteeing you 36 races a year. Guaranteed. You'll be in the race. You'll not miss the Daytona 500 on a technicality or a bad qualifying performance or something. You're going to be in all of these events, right? And so then the teams could then go do some work and bargain for these corporate sponsors. Literally, I mean, that was the main purpose of the charter. And if you have a charter, you're going to be in the field, buddy. And the rest of these teams, whether it's in NASCAR's eyes, when they're super healthy, they've got tons of teams trying to qualify for these races and a lot of people missing races because they're just not fast enough. We don't, we're not in a place right now where we have more cars showing up than there are starting positions. But that's the idea. When they made the charters, we're going to guarantee these teams a spot in the field, and anyone else who shows up, it's a free-for-all. You don't have a charter, sorry. Go out there and try to earn a spot. The teams have shifted that idea that the charter is a franchise. The charter is like owning the Indianapolis Colts. You know what I mean? And I don't think that NASCAR ever thought it would be that. Now the teams have created value in owning the charter, and to them it's as if they have a franchise in their hands. So I can see both sides of it. And so I think that's where there's not a lot of common ground between the two.
Brett also brought up a great point on DBC yesterday where
shocker, unbelievable.
No, it was a great point where some of these teams who were, born into this were gifted the charters. And then other teams like 2311 and expanding teams had to purchase. So it's like you've got two different perspectives of almost like I could see why 2311 maybe fighting a little harder because we had to spend so much money to get these charters, whereas like a Rick Hendrick, and I'm just throwing his name out for example, but like he was gifted it, he made value from nothing.
That would be the argument, or that would be the discussion around why some teams signed and one didn't.
Sure.
Right? Denny will tell you he has poured a lot into this financially, and he's risked a bunch of what he's earned over his course of his career to have this team, to have this brand new shop. And he convinced Michael Jordan, this is a good idea. You need to be here. Let's do this together. And so there's a lot of financial and internal pressure for Denny to fight this and try to make this work. Whereas to your point and to Brett's point, there are some teams like, let's just take a wild guess, like the Wood Brothers and some of the other teams are going like, and Trackhouse, right? I mean, I know Trackhouse had to buy his deal, but judging by his remarks over the past couple of days, Justin Marks, he's like, hey, I ain't going anywhere. I'm going to be here. I want to race here. This is the best deal they said they was going to give me. Don't love it, but there's parts that I think can help me. I can make this work. And so it's interesting times, but I honestly don't see this creating. I don't see this turning into a clown show or creating some sort of a
drama,
legal battle.
I don't see it.
Curtis Polk did say, "Oh, if we have to."
I just don't. I mean, they may, but I don't think anyone's gonna really care. I don't think the public is going to invest emotionally in any litigation or a legal battle. Would you? I mean, if it goes into the courts, are you gonna follow that?
It'd be an interesting precedent. I think, like, can you take legal battle on a decision NASCAR's made?
Are you gonna be like?
I'm not gonna be in the courtroom every day.
No, I mean, I would probably go. Okay, they're gonna do that. I see that. We'll see who wins. But when one wins or whoever it is that wins, I'm not gonna be. Are you gonna be?
Depending on what the result is, the precedent could be significant enough.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I would follow it. It wouldn't be the top storyline, but it would definitely be something I would track.
Yeah. I think the news cycle is just too fast, and like there's a lot of wild that happens in today's world that get your attention, but in a week later you're like on to the next. And I just feel like this would kind of be the same thing. Once it gets kind of woven into the, a court case, I think we're all going to check out, and there'll be other going on in the sport that will be more important.
I think depending on the result, if the result ends up being that, hey, yeah, you got to make these charters permanent and franchises, then that is a big deal.
Would a court and a judge?
I have no idea. This is where I might be overstepping. I have no idea.
Right.
Like,
are they going to go to court and ask and tell NASCAR how to?
And I don't know. Like, they're going to pursue legal action. I don't know what exactly that legal action looks like. So I won't speculate on any of that.
I just don't see it getting to be. I just don't see it kind of. I don't see the sport like rushing up to a roadblock and everything grinds to a halt over this.
It's not going to now. I mean, 13 teams have signed, right? So you're not going to have two teams, participate. But it was
a little more split, maybe.
Right. If it was like, even, or there was 5 teams that signed, maybe. But I don't think we need to cater to any one individual or team. But it would be a real shame if this turns someone like Michael Jordan away from being involved in our sport. Yeah. And that's why I would follow it, because I would want to see, okay, if Michael's interested and he's happy with NASCAR, why don't the Steinbrenners come in? Why doesn't Stephen Ross of the Miami Dolphins come in? Just I had to shout him out, but I just want to see the sport grow, and I feel like a lot of times there's that old parable of like a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush kind of thing. I just don't want to see us limit ourselves because of some technicalities that will never even happen. Like you said, they're not going to take the charters away. Why would they do that? Well, then just say that. And that's kind of where my head's at with it.
Well, I think. I don't think they would take Michael's and Denny's charters away. What if there was a person that came in and invested into the sport that was nefarious and got himself into some real trouble, and then now that's a permanent charter that he owns, and
that's the counterpoint, right? Yeah. So I agree with that, because I don't want somebody coming in and wrecking everything and running backwards or something. I don't even know.
Well, I'm just saying, like they might have something legally going on outside of the race team, just some personal situation going on that muddies up the, brings a bad light on the sport. You just never know. I mean, I can't begin to understand why NASCAR didn't, give the teams everything they asked for. They had their reasons. I've always said, though, that my favorite NASCAR was Bill France Sr., Bill France Jr. This is how it's going to be. The road, they would even tell, they would tell anybody. They never probably did, but they would tell Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, anybody, this thing's going on without you, right? You can get on board and be here next week, but if you don't want to or can't, we're going to be at the next race. We're going to be racing. And you can sit on the sidelines if that's your choice. And they did that with rules and everything. And so, it goes all the way back to Talladega in '69 when the drivers formed the association and boycotted that race. The race went on. The race still happened, and the sport did not suffer. And it was probably so delicate in that moment, right? The sport would have been easy to bust and crumble. But Bill France said, look, all right, Bobby Allison, Cale Yarborough, Richard Petty, hey, if you don't want to race, don't race. Y'all can go on home. This race is happening. It's going to be here tomorrow, and we're doing it. And what happened when we went back to Talladega the next time? They were all there.
And Dalton, to your point real quick, I think Adam Stern reported it like a month ago, but there was, a proposed ban on, Saudi investors and that type of money coming in. So I don't know if that ended up being in that final agreement that 13 and 15 signed, but there was definitely discussion of that, with these, conversations
There's probably
going on.
There are
so many clauses.
Dude, there is probably
105 pages.
Yeah.
There are probably so many scenarios that have not been
thought of,
revealed. No, I'm saying if I'm holding that document, there's probably so much shit that would make your head spin about I don't even know. There's probably stuff in there that's always going to remain private among NASCAR and the teams, and I'm sure Denny Hamlin and those guys are going, God, I wish I could just tell everybody what all is in here and what we're trying to fight against in detail, right? But
last quick question: do you think there's any hope that 2311 and Front Row get anything more than what is already been proposed to them?
How would they?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Do they just go and sign a few months later?
Is it just kind of like a holdout?
I don't know what happens. Yeah,
that's the biggest question mark right now.
I mean, if they get more, everybody else has to get more.
Right.
So
So then you got to sign a new.
I think they would. I think they either sign or they go to court.
Sign or court.
I think right.
Yeah.
Is there another alternative? Is there another route?
Run an open car. I don't know. Like their cars are just open.
They won't, because then they won't get the money at all.
Right. So
they're turning down. They're turning down 12 to whatever it is, $18 million a car.
Yeah.
To run an open car to.
Yeah. I could see this going to February. Where Clash is coming up, and we're still waiting on 2311 and Front Row to sign. What's going to happen? I think this is going to be far from over. We're going to be talking about
Denny's
this.
Hard-headed. I don't see Denny going sometime, in a couple weeks going, all right, we're signing it. Yep, we were signing. All right. Well, we're done fighting. I just don't see. He's such a he's hard-headed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Respect. I mean, yeah, definitely.
He's gonna fight. He's gonna stubbornly.
He don't back down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he's empowered, right? He's got Michael Jordan. He's got all this. He's got a lot of people that all believe in that building that they're doing the right thing. So this could take a while.
Building too.
This could take a while. All right. Yeah, we said a lot of nothing. I don't know. Do you think this makes me want to? I just want to talk about this with y'all for a second. Since we is Joey here yet?
No, he's not.
Well, when he gets here, we
calling in.
Okay,
shortly.
When he gets here, we can just jump right to it. But a lot of people, and not just in this charter, are there's the charter conversation is a big industry conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's talking about it. We're talking about it. SiriusXM guys are talking about it. Everybody's talking about this, but not just But take all of these big discussions, right, that happen throughout the year. There's this idea from some people, a lot of people, that you can't reference things that happened in the past because it's the sport's moved on. Times are different, but and so you can't, I made that reference to Talladega, right, in the drivers boycotting. I know there's a lot of people in our industry would go, well, that's a different time. You can't. That's not even the same.
Kurt Polk said that. He's like, it's not the '60s anymore.
Right.
And
so, but I disagree. I think that you got to remember history, reference history. You got to recall moments that happened where there's lessons learned. And yes, maybe he's correct in certain specific moments. Like maybe that 1969 Talladega Day and that weekend, how all that went down, has nothing to do with the charters, and it's not helpful. But I remember how stern and headstrong Bill France Sr. was when you do a lot of homework on that particular weekend, and that is where that's where I draw the comparison to Jim and current day NASCAR. They've held on to that. They've held on to that sort of mindset, right? And it's not just guys being hard-headed. It's the way they've always been, right? So that's why you might reference that. Joey Logano has called in. All right, so we got race winner Joey Logano on the Dale Jr. download, and man, we've seen this before. I remember having you on the show, exact same room. Are you at the shop?
I am. Penske.
Yeah.
Just
got a couple. Yeah, got a couple new trophies back there since the last time we had you on. You and your teammates are doing some good things out there on the racetrack. Before we get into your day, I had a question. So we were talking about Larson's wreck. I know you may have had a chance to look at that. Why does this car produce that type of reaction? I remember in Fontana when y'all first got in the car and took it to Fontana, and Chastain wrecked almost kind of in the same way off turn 4 in practice, got loose, hard right into the wall. And I thought that over time you guys would get used to that rack steering and the quickness of all of that, and how to properly sort of make the inputs needed, the muscle memory and all that to save these cars and give yourself a chance. But still, like we see that instance with Larson where, yes, he got sideways, but man, when he got past the point of no return, he had zero chance to change the impact, the direction of impact. And what is it about this car that creates that?
And a simple answer, I believe it's the underbody and the lack of side force that's in the car. The car makes the most downforce when it's going straight, and as it creates, you get more sideways or yaw in the car, aerodynamically, it starts to shut off the downforce, and you don't gain any side force like we used to, right? We used to have that big quarter panel sticking out there in the wind, and now Larson said it when he was running the Indy cars in the Indy 500. He said that the Cup car is more like an Indy car than it used to be. So directionally, we've gone that way, and you see the way an Indy car crashes, it's the same way, right? They're quick, they snap. And when you're at Atlanta, your center of the corner speeds are so fast, the loads are so high, the car's setups and the springs are so stiff in the back that it just becomes really snappy and edgy to drive. As much as you can kind of get used to that feeling, it's still like it sneaks up and bites you really, really quick. And, I got to run the Xfinity car for a few laps in Darlington. And it's been years since I've been in one of those cars.
Yeah.
It's like, this is awesome. I'm like sliding around. It's like you're on dirt. It feels like you're on a dirt track compared to what it's like in the Cup car, the modern Cup car today. So just a different game, and just I think the way the cars are built.
Yeah. So I do think that they've made some major gains in allowing these cars to kind of destroy themselves when they crash like that. And luckily, that Larson didn't have that type of wreck 2 or 3 years ago. He would have probably been in bad shape. I wanted to ask you too. We watched Denny Hamlin, struggle to sort of put himself in position late in the race. I didn't know if you had much experience kind of being in the pack and could help to kind of describe to us why it was more challenging this weekend than it might have been in the past to sort of work your way through the field. There was a lot of grip had gone away from the track since the last time you'd been there, which is great. The track's aging, but how come there was a bit of a log jam and it was more challenging to sort of progress through the field this weekend?
I kind of feel like it was like that last time here as well. And it's really where super speedway racing has gone in the next gen era some is that, the cars themselves, they create a lot of drag. And so to make a lane work, you got to have quite a bit of help going along with you. I think that the drivers have gotten really, really good at speedway racing, and they recognize the runs. They know where things are coming from. So it's really hard to maneuver your way through the field because everyone's pretty smart now, right? Like before you had maybe 5 or 6 guys that really understood it, and you can kind of drive yourself through the field.
Yeah.
But now, gosh, it ends up being, too wide, and everyone kind of knows what they can do. There's a few cars that were really special, I thought, that were able to kind of slip to the outside of cars and get that third lane working. And that took a lot of handling to do that. But, gosh, it just seems like the evolution of what Speedway racing is, the cars are getting better to drive, right? Everyone's getting better at the setups, but also the drivers and the spotters just understand it and they're studying it, and it's getting harder and harder to have an edge over anybody. And I think that's why you see this just quite the track position game that's played even at Talladega or Daytona. It's the same way.
So talk about the big push that you got late in the race, great commitment from your teammate Blaney. How comfortable were you getting those big shows? We hadn't seen really that much aggression, or we hadn't really seen the you knew it was coming where late in the race, the push in the contact and shoving down the straightaways and all that was going to be necessary to win. How comfortable was that? Were you getting sent off into the corner? Were you hanging on for dear life? As bad as it looked in the traffic, I was wondering how those pushes felt down the front straightaway.
Yeah, well, when I seen him coming, I made sure I put my head back against the headrest so I could get the old whiplash.
Yeah,
because it's coming, and they're huge hits.
He knocked the hell out of you on the back straightaway that one time.
Oh, it hit the hell out of me, yes. And when you go to the bigger tracks, Daytona, Talladega, the push is a little softer because you want to connect.
Yep.
And stay connected and do that tandem, right? But here the straightaways aren't really that long, so by the time you connect, you got to disconnect. So really all that happens is they just waylay you instead of connecting softly, and it just you transfer the run as quickly as possible. So the car itself felt pretty comfortable taking the pushes, which was good. Yeah. I can't say I was very comfortable inside the car, but I wasn't out of control at least. So
yeah,
the car was good.
So we've seen you do this, for a couple years now. This is kind of, unfortunately, I'm sure you'd rather do it another way, but your team's kind of struggled for speed at points in the season, and this isn't a new thing. But when the playoffs begin, Joey Logano figures out how to advance through the rounds by winning races and getting results. It's literally a completely different team when the playoffs start. We saw it as well. We've seen it with you multiple years. We saw it as well with Blaney last year. Is that a Penske thing? What is it that gets you guys on top of your game when it matters the most?
Sometimes I wish I knew exactly what it was, because we would do it all the time, because I want to win every race, not just the last 10. But it's great that we are good at the last 10 more times than not. But I think there's a few things that goes into the equation. I think one is pressure, right? And some people love pressure and it makes them better, and some people it makes them crack. And I think for our race team in particular, 22, they're all pretty experienced guys. They've been around the block quite a few times. They've been in the playoffs. We've been knocked out of the playoffs. We've won championships. We've lost championships together. And I think that really helps when it comes to playoff time, because you know how to prepare. You know what's coming your way. It's not like, gosh, the first time you get to a championship 4, you're thinking this is our only chance to ever do this, and it's going to be the stress and everything goes into it, and you end up overthinking stuff or cracking under pressure, really. And the more times you're in that scenario, the more you're able to prepare and know what's coming your way and be more comfortable ultimately. I think that's some part of it. I think the other part is just also within the race shop. I think everyone realizes that, gosh, with this playoff system, you can have a mediocre regular season and have a chance to win the championship. So it's kind of the second win that you get, where it's like, all right, we got a shot. We're back in this thing. And I think we thrive in those moments. And I wish I knew exactly what it was, because it would make a lot more sense, but that's all I can come up with.
Yeah. I think it says a lot, too, about how y'all I think it says a lot about, too, the Penske personality during the regular season when you're trying to find that speed and you're not finding it, and it's a long year, and you look at the bulk of the performance over the 26 race regular season, you guys never implode. You don't mash a panic button. You don't shuffle crews and teams and drivers around. You mentioned you have a lot of the same guys over the course of the years. And so, yeah, when you're not, winning all the races that you want to win, you don't assume there's an issue that has to be fixed. And then when the playoffs come around, you find yourself where you want to be. I love the performance in the playoffs, but I also love the composure during the regular season when things aren't where you want them to be.
Yeah, I mean that is the Penske way, right? When you look at the guys that are here at Team Penske, it's the same ones. The majority of them have been here since I got here, and even a lot before that. So, you hear Roger talk all the time about human capital and how important it is to have the right people in the right places. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't always clicking or winning all the time. But we do know that we have very smart, dedicated, committed people that care about this race team, right? And I think you can never put enough value on somebody that just cares enough to want to stay faithful to this race team and ultimately win, right? And we know that. And, a lot of that comes from Roger Penske himself, right? He's that type of guy. He's a guy who's going to stick behind you and he's going to push you, right? And he's going to have stern conversations and make sure everything's right because he wins, right? And that's the expectation. But he also is the type of leader that is going to be in the pit with you, right? Fighting to try to figure it out instead of pointing fingers and throwing axes at people and telling them to get out the door and we're going to make replacements and all that. Like he knows, we got good people here and we work together to make sure we win.
Well, man, I hope you do win. We've enjoyed watching you this past weekend, and I got you going way far down in the Final Four there, man. So
there we go.
Have fun chasing that. Thanks for your time today. We know you're busy, Joey, and we'll see you at the racetrack.
All right, thanks for having me on. See you soon, man.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about safety culture. You may know Safety Culture's logo from Shane Van Gisbergen's car, but Safety Culture is more than just a sponsor. It's also the workplace operations tool for the Trackhouse Racing team. And what does that actually mean? Well, the team uses Safety Culture's app to manage everything from pre-race inspections on the car to assembly checks, and they even do some of their training on the app. Every race team has an incredible amount of individuals that maybe don't even travel to the racetrack, work back at the shop, that are a big part of the success of that race team, preparing cars, getting them ready to go to the racetrack and run these races and try to win checkered flags and ultimately championships. No matter what you're trying to achieve, no one has time to waste. From construction sites to factory floors, Safety Culture is designed to drive improvements not just in safety, but broadly across quality and efficiency too. Are you ready to put your workplace in the pole position? Well, head to safetyculture.com/SVG. Good to hear from Joey. Good to hear a little bit of an understanding about his understanding of why, when Larson gets loose, when the car takes a right and goes straight on in the wall. Man, it's just sounds like that it's an inevitable situation, not something that's easy to correct. And, he's a cool guy, man. He's fun to talk to, and it is fun to kind of hear the culture and the approach of Penske and how they operate. We get to learn a little bit about that. Let's quickly, before we move on from racing entirely, wanted to talk about the Xfinity race. There was a move at the end that Corey Heim made, a move he didn't make. Right. Chandler Smith wanted to help. Both those guys are in Toyotas, and Chandler assumed, that, he might get the help from Corey, considering the manufacturer similarity. We saw the same thing with
Retzlaff and Kyle Busch, right?
Colleague in RCR, same track, same situation.
Oh, yeah.
You had AJ Allmendinger and the colleague guys, and then and Austin Hill in the 21, they were arguing about this very same thing a couple years ago about who should have helped who in those last final moments. But listen, man, Corey Heim was making a move to win the race in turn 2, and got into the fence a little bit there. Him and Austin were battling for the same piece of asphalt. And so I have to say, man, the guys, it's kind of like Parker, to your point, at Daytona. Parker was trying to win the race. Parker might have won the race. What if, if he gets around there and wins that race at Daytona in the Cup race?
Completely different. We're not talking about
it. Same thing for Corey. Corey had did everything he needed to do, and Chandler Smith has got a full-time ride. Corey does not have a full-time ride. And so, I mean, he's trying to do things to set himself apart and get himself those opportunities. And I can't blame the kid. When the drivers are out there on the race, I'm an owner. I can tell these guys what I want them to do. But when they're out on that racetrack, they're going to make their own choices, for better or worse. And, yes, you can go back and say, well, I think you should have did this, should have done that. But, again, Corey's making the pass for the lead in turn 2. He did what he needed to do to put himself in a position to win. And so, I think that was a pretty interesting moment. And, I think Chandler, as much as Chandler wanted that help, I think Chandler would have to realize, if he was in Corey's situation, he would have been a little bit selfish as well, right? And so, that was pretty interesting. I was there at the race, got to watch our guys run. We had a pretty rough day at Junior Motorsports for a lot of reasons. Had a really, really fast car with Justin Allgaier, and just running a little bit too tight down the back straightaway with contact and got a flat tire. But and the one car had a little issue off 4, wasn't clear. He had a pretty decent car as well. So it was a tough day, but enjoyed being there. And we're moving on. We're going to Bristol soon. I just sat in my car.
Oh.
And so that's ready.
How's it feel?
It feels great. Feels the same. I got weighed at Atlanta, and I could lose a few pounds. Yeah. I'm still under 190, but
no, but don't you want to be a little heavier for the weigh-in?
Never. No, I don't care about that. I mean, I think it's
the competitor in you.
But no, I think so. I'm probably best at like 178 to 182, and I'm 188, and so
it's fitting. 88.
It's a good number.
Yeah, I'm 188.8.
Oh,
that's what I was weighed. I weighed at
that.
I weighed at Atlanta.
Yes.
So you go. I didn't. I'm not lying. That's not my scale weight at home. I went to Atlanta, and I weighed, and I took they make you take this neurological test, and that they have to take it every year.
Like what? Like a baseline?
It's a little game on an iPad, but it gives you a baseline.
Like for concussions or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. And so to make you a better ninja. So, but yeah,
you take this fruit for us, so we'll see if you can drive this car.
So you take that test, and then you get on a scale. They strip you down to your underwear, and so I was a little heavy, but I hopped in that car, felt good. Belts are all good.
How are the nerves, though?
The nerves are all right. I will probably get really nervous. I've yet to see. Here's the thing. So, like, how many cars will enter? Like, if there's even the slightest possibility
of missing the race,
that's
qualifying.
Things start to get a little shaky.
I get nervous. And so I will we'll know probably what the entry list is like that week on a Monday or so. And if there's no threat of getting, I know, I should make the race no matter how many cars enter. But if there's like the chance that someone has to go home, then I get really, really nervous about qualifying. And once qualifying's over, it's easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier on me emotionally.
The biggest stress of like, I'm going to be in the race. Now I can
just get
almost
to have
control
fun.
Right.
Let's get it going. Let's have some fun. Let's run let's just run our race and have fun. But I remember everything about last year's race. I remember we fired off, and man, the first probably 40 laps, I wasn't really that impressed with my car. I had Jeremy Clements right behind me, man. He was putting a little pressure on me early, and I was thinking, all right, this is going to be tougher than I thought. And but as the race went on, I started finding a little bit of grip, and as the track took rubber, I guess other guys started getting tight and slowing down, and I don't know, it just seemed like our car improved and we had a little more pace and a little more speed, and we went from like a 15th place car when the green flag dropped to a 10th place car. Then we got track position, and it was good. But I think if I had not had the fire, we would have probably run second to Justin. I don't know. I think I might have been able to get by the 10, which I think was Hemrick. Was he driving the 10 or 11? But he was up there. He had stayed out. And so I think I might have been able to get by him. It would have been tough. But me and the 7 at the end of the race were going to be pretty even. If he, and then trying to run somebody down that's running the same speed as you is literally impossible. But anyways, we're taking the exact same car. We took that car.
Oh, really?
We took that car, brought it back here. So they decided that they would build me my own car. And I would just leave my seat in it and everything in it. They wouldn't have to. I would race it. They push it over in the corner, get it back out, race it again when I'm ready. And so this is last year's car. They took it apart and sandblasted everything, put the whole car back together. But it's basically, hopefully, it'll go back there and run just as well. So we'll see.
I'll be there, so I'll be rooting you on.
I'm looking forward to it. Watkins Glen, they had a tire test.
Yes.
Recently, and this was something that stood out to me. I find this hard to believe, but they had a tire test at Watkins Glen, and the fall off was something they were looking for, and the tire that they're going to use is, quote from Goodyear, extremely aggressive with 4 seconds of fall off over the course of a fuel run.
I love it. I
find that hard to believe.
Reddick confirmed that on Actions Detrimental. It was after Nashville.
Yeah. I believe it happened, but I find it hard to believe that will be what we see.
With more rubber laid down, different temperatures.
I will be paying attention. I think we all should, because this, if this tire falls off 4 seconds, then, the drivers, hopefully they get out and go, man, I love this. And then they can try to take this idea and this approach to not only other road courses, but obviously to the short tracks. But it's extremely aggressive, and they found a way to create a tire that falls off 4 seconds. Incredible.
I'm optimistic.
I will believe it. You're optimistic. I'll believe it when I see it. All right, it's time for Dirty Modo with Tampa Tim's. Tim's went to Atlanta last week with all his bets to see if he could get some luck. I wonder if we had a predictable winner.
We did, yeah.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
So talk about what you laid down, what worked, what didn't work.
We had this nice strategy to it was a can't-lose strategy, really. Corey LaJoie to finish over 14.5, and then you bet Corey LaJoie top 10. If you structured it right, you could have made money. As long as he didn't finish 11th to 14th.
Yeah.
He finished 15th, so we cashed out.
Damn.
Did well.
Nice.
Yeah.
You bet him to finish top 10.
Yes.
So you lost that part.
Lost that part, but if you structured it right, the over 14.5 bet, you still made money in the aggregate because of it.
Wow. You bet on the margin of victory.
Yeah, that was a learning lesson, because if we were trying to see if it was under caution, what would
happen?
Yeah, it would avoid the bet. Does not void the bet, so you do lose it. So,
what was the margin that you bet?
Like 1/1000 to like 5/10.
Jeez.
Yeah. So.
All right. And Dirty Modo also, I saw you. I guess we could talk about next week. What's the approach?
Well, there's some guys at road course ringers that you can definitely attack on.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of where, I know Logano won last week, but you can really focus on the playoff guys. Like, for some reason, I think it's a Byron, Hamlin, Larson type of race. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Hamlin's going to need a good one after this past weekend, sort of keep himself above water. in the playoffs. I saw you bet. You bet the Monday Night Football game with the Jets and the 49ers.
Yeah.
What was the bet?
I bet the Jets plus 3.5 about 4 seconds after I heard Christian McCaffrey was out.
Yep. I bet that too. My dumb ass, I'm like, I haven't bet since the middle of the summer. And I was like, I saw your bet, and I was like, I'll do it, whatever. So I made the bet, and then I forgot about the bonus. I saw you had the bonus. It's 50%.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll go back and bet that again with the bonus. I forgot to bet it the first time with the bonus, so I went and rebet it. And, man, we got killed.
Yep, got cooked. Yeah, I doubled down too. So
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
yeah.
I always forget the bonuses.
Yeah, that's the first thing I check in the morning is all the bonuses, and then I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
It's my routine.
Yep. I need to get into that routine because I'll be making a lot of bets and forget to make the bonuses. They're there. They're free boosts and provided to you pretty much every day.
There's a lot with football season now.
Yeah.
College and NFL. They're every day. It seems like there's something new.
I'm excited. I've got a little bit of money in a couple different accounts, and I just to play with, and haven't done it haven't really made bets in many, many months. We were cooking there for a while in the summer, early summer, and then I got out of state. And hadn't got back on the wagon.
Yeah, I haven't missed much. It's summertime's kind of like a lull for betting.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe the NFL games will get me back in.
Should.
I'll bring a cooler of beer and come over here, and maybe we'll do some bets on Thursday for the Thursday game.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Does Mike Davis allow y'all to drink on the job?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Promotes it.
He does not.
He's not bad about it.
Yeah.
He seems.
Yeah, Andrew's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Back
I
up, Andrew.
think he might frown upon that.
No. What? Well, I mean, like, he's not like, you can't just crack a beer at any time.
What about Tiff? Would Tiff come in there and have a problem with you guys having a beer on?
Should probably have one with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna test
What time
that.
on Thursday? Just any time on Thursday.
I don't know.
Oh.
I have to look at my schedule. Well, I guess I can look at it. I mean, it's right here. Let's see.
I think it means a lot coming from you.
I ain't got Thursday.
Oh, all right.
I might actually. I'll be here right after lunch.
All right. Okay.
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect.
Sounds good. See you
All
there.
right.
All right.
So that's Dirty Mo Doe and Tampa Tim's. Dirty Mo Doe out every Thursday here on the Dirty Mo Media platforms. Steve Letarte and the gang will give you all the best bets coming up for every weekend. They have a lot of fun, and hey, Alex has not bankrupted himself, so they're obviously
huge.
making some great
big
bets,
deal.
making some good bets out there, and just having a little fun, man. All right, is it time for the white flag?
Time for the white flag.
All right, dropping Sunday after the race, the teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. They cover everything from Atlanta, and they talked charters. Those guys, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, we have a lot of fun here. I feel good about our show. But, I mean, their thoughts and opinions, they're so smart.
Yeah.
Now,
They're
they
intelligent people.
They do disagree with each other, and they do take different sides of the argument. But they're right there, feet on the ground, post-race, coming fresh off of the most recent drama and occurrences. And I would not, if I was a hardcore fan, I just would not miss the teardown. The
Super
teardown is
valuable.
the tee up. It's sort of the recap and the tee up.
I mean, before NBC took over, that was my post-race show,
Yeah.
basically.
That
It
is
was
the perfect
awesome.
baton from one race to the next race week, and those guys are doing an amazing job. Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin, another must-listen-to show, especially when Denny's in the playoffs and doing unnatural things with his strategy.
Unnatural, yeah.
And he's in the middle of this crazy drama with the Charters, just dramatic. And so we just love listening to Denny try to tell us all about that stuff, man. Door Bumper Clear dropped yesterday as well, and hopefully they didn't try to ruin another driver's week like they did.
We have a question of the week. They
yeah.
have a driver they're going to ruin every week.
Yeah.
It's a fun
So-
little segment on
This
the
week's
show.
ruined their
They-
career.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They
Justin Haley.
You're right.
yeah. It was Bowman last week. Who's it going to be this week? Man, they
Giving them a hard
torched him.
time.
It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate.
They went live on YouTube yesterday. It was a big day
It
for
was
them.
terrifying.
It was a little
Jeez.
terrifying. But
Oh.
they did great. They did a
Yeah.
fantastic job.
Didn't torch anybody's career.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So I give them guys a hard time. But that was a little close. Yeah. Man, Bowman's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Speed Street with Connor Daly and Chase Holden.
IndyCar Championship this weekend. It's going to be a big one.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right,
the information on your sheet is incorrect, so don't. Yeah.
Connor's been back in the field here for a couple weeks now, and it's been fun to see him smiling, having a steering wheel in his hand. He's living his dream, right? So Speed Street drops again. Hear what Connor has to say, not only about his situation in the racing he's doing, but also as we finish out the year for IndyCar. What a great schedule they have. They're already ending their year. My goodness. Seems like it's, so many months of racing left.
I know.
Yeah. Where you have... Are you
no, you go for it. No, go for it. I just didn't want to do it live, so this will be good in the podcast.
All right,
go for it.
Now, we couldn't do this on Ask Junior because that was live, but now it's later in the day. Tomorrow's guest is Zach Brown.
That's big.
From the Zach Brown Band. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk country music.
Chicken Fried.
Yes.
All that. They're great albums. Castaway.
Goodbye in Her Eyes.
Yeah.
Colder
Weather.
Yep, Colder Weather.
Phenomenal
So
song.
good.
Oh my gosh.
And
that'll fire you up.
This is so stupid.
Yeah, they did. They did some
Got a new
really,
EP coming out.
really good covers too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
really
that's
good covers.
that's basically their entire concert.
Yeah. But unfortunately, if you're a Zach Brown fan from the Zach Brown Band, we're gonna have a different Zach Brown on the show.
But he will still be singing. Don't worry.
Performing all of their hits.
Yes.
Zach Brown is going to cover Zach Brown Band.
Z-A-K, not Z-A-C-K.
Zach Brown from the McLaren outfit is going to be. I say the outfit because they're racing everything. So I'm joking. Zach Brown from McLaren is going to be our guest tomorrow. They're making an announcement. Was it made?
Yes, it was made.
Yeah,
Larson's running the double.
By the time this is out, yeah.
All right. And not only that, but, I mean, the guy's got his hands in a lot of different pots. And I'd like to – he owned, one of Dad's race cars from back in 1984, the Monte Carlo that he raced for Richard Childress. He owned, at one point – this car sitting on the other side of this glass, the old Nova.
Oh.
Did he really?
Yes. He had ownership of that car at one point.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And so, there's a lot there I want to talk to with Zach Brown. Where did this guy come from? What was his story? How did he get into the position to be over all of this? And tell us, what is McLaren, right? McLaren, to me, is different than a traditional manufacturer as I know it. Explain McLaren and its history and the rich history behind that and what that means to him. So it'll be a different topic, different conversation than what we're used to, and I can't wait to talk to him. It's going to be awesome. That'll be a great interview. Also, let's move on. DJD Reloaded with Ask Junior and more will drop Thursday, as well as Dirty Modo that we mentioned earlier. A new episode of Andrew Curlin Went There, one of the
we got a lot of
awkward names for anything.
I'll go there.
It fits.
I'll go there.
It's just the strangest name. I don't want the person that came up with that idea to be named. It is too embarrassing.
I think the only awkward part for me is saying
the
the
person
name.
that came up with that name in the room.
No.
Okay. I do not want that person named. It's not fair.
Okay.
It's not fair to them.
Okay.
Andrew Curlin went there.
Where did he go?
All over. Sounds like the result of hide and go seek. He went there. There he is.
Is it like Where's Waldo?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where's Andrew Curlin would have been a better name for this show.
It's a missing
Where's
poster.
Andrew Curlin?
That's all it is.
Yeah, a wanted
back
sign.
of a milk carton.
We got a good bit here because Alex is laughing.
Oh,
I'm enjoying this.
He's paying attention.
That's a big deal.
He's paying attention. Somebody is going to be very mad at me, but I won't know who that is.
Yes,
but we've got name and names.
We've
right?
got.
We're not going to name any names.
We've got the YouTube video from Media Day that's coming out later this week.
This will be fun for me to go up into the Dirty Mo Media Room and try to see who's giving me the cold shoulder, and then I will go. You must have named the show.
That's it.
I'll be up there today, and I'll be like, God, that person seems pissed at me. That must be who named the show. Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be going through my head. That's the way my head works.
All right.
Weird.
Dalton, you've got social media standout.
Wait.
We skipped over.
Wait.
No, we didn't.
A new episode of Where's Andrew Curlin from NASCAR Media Day is out now on the Next Level
It's actually
YouTube
coming out.
page.
It's coming out.
Well, it's coming. I didn't finish the whole read. I started joking about the name and didn't get to tell people that it's an episode of you at NASCAR Media Day talking to all the drivers. Right? I saw NASCAR. I saw some of these clips. They're really good.
Yes,
the one
it was
of
a lot
you
of fun.
telling all the drivers that you were the favorite. They were your favorite.
I give you a hard time. All right? And sometimes I know you don't know how to take me. You don't know when I'm joking and when I'm not. I'm always joking.
Okay, that's good to know.
But I got to say that the work you're doing with this show, Where's Andrew Curlin, is so good. It's good.
Andrew Curlin somewhere is...
But I saw some clips from this recent Where's Andrew Curlin, and I really like it. And it's pretty funny. You're talking to the drivers at NASCAR Media Day. It's out soon.
Clips are out now,
Next
YouTube
Level.
video will be
Go to the
dropping
Next
soon.
Level YouTube page. Next Level with Andrew Curlin.
That's right.
Right? Dalton has our weekly social media standout.
All right, we had fun last week with the trip to Lowe's, that whole argument, right? So someone commented and said, this is a true story with a question mark. They said they sent their now ex-husband to Lowe's to get a square princess pink pillow for their daughter. Sent him in there pre-app so he couldn't find it. So they let him buy a cellular phone from home, and the ex had to ask people in the store where to find these pillows. The joke is, They don't exist. So they set him in there as a prank, and he had to go up to someone who works at Lowe's and be like, "Where's your princess pink pillow at?"
Oh my God!
What in the hell?
That's
so
awesome.
Funny. Yeah,
That's
so that
pretty...
came from Megan. Megan, that's a good story.
That's great.
I would go if I was given this task. I would absolutely not be asking anyone where this pillow is. I would search that store if it took me 5 hours.
I would know where everything is in that store.
I would search that store. And I would eventually learn on my own that it did not exist.
Give me a red vest.
I would be out of that store, and no one would be none the wiser.
Hours later.
I can't find it.
Meanwhile, if I was in that situation, I would be home in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And embarrassed.
That sounds like
I would ask a person.
That sounds like a great episode for Where's Andrew Curlin?
Coming to Lowe's.
Yes.
Asking for
I'm
stuff.
just changing the name now.
Andrew Curlin went there. Where?
Lowe's.
That's what
I'm changing the name of the show right here, right now.
Wow.
I'm standing on this hill.
Cannot wait
Executive
to see
decision.
I'm standing on this hill.
This.
I'm standing on this hill.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You dying on this hill.
I'm standing on it, not dying.
Oh, you're not?
Nope.
Because you're going to survive the battle.
It.
You've got the high ground.
Yep.
Well,
Nice.
There's an app for that. All right.
All right. Question of the week is from Chase Briscoe. This is from Media Day.
Oh, boy.
And he came up to me. He felt pretty bad.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'll ask him how cold it was in the doghouse.
Yes.
I texted him yesterday. I said, hey, let me know if you need me to send over some blankets. I said, I know it can be cold in there.
He got me. So, Amy, I started playing the new NCAA 25 on Xbox with TJ Majors in a new league that he's got going on with a bunch of guys. And been playing a little bit too much. A little bit too much playing. Not enough fathering and husbanding. And so we had a conversation at the house. We come to an understanding, and now we were on this. Amy and I were interviewing Briscoe, and he goes, "You gonna join the Madden League?" Now, she's like, "Wait, what? There's more." So it's good. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Everything's all right.
Everything's fine.
Blink twice if you need help. Oh, you just did.
No, we're good. We're good. All good.
I will go there. I will help you out. Andrew Curlin will go there.
I'm telling you right now, man. If I had my way, so like when this is the thing. So when a new game comes out that I'm interested in, I want to play it. I would play it every minute of the day. I would abandon all responsibilities And I would play this game, and then in about a week or two, I would be able to then dial it back to what is satisfactory in my household, what fits into my household and everything else going on. But God, that first couple of weeks, I'm like jonesing, thinking about it every second. I'm like, get them teeth brushed. Get into bed. Come on, hurry up. Let's go. Let's read this book. Let's go. Come on.
Sweet dreams.
Come on, sweet dreams. Good night. See you in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
she was great. The end. All right, go on.
Yeah. And then I go down there and I play, and then I kind of creep up to bed about midnight, try not to wake Amy up. And this is like this is the cycle. This is like every day. This is the thing. Until I'm finally about 2 weeks in, I'm like, all right, I'm not playing tonight.
Bedtime stories.
Yeah,
Once upon a time, there was an assistant head coach at
tonight.
UNC Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's something else? I don't know if this will make the show. Amy, so are any of y'all a fan of old sitcoms or shows, really old? I don't know.
Like how old?
I don't know what old is, but
Like I Love Lucy old?
no, not that old. That's probably too far.
Like Seinfeld. I watch Seinfeld all the time.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
love
So I have a lot of things like that I like. Seinfeld was great. The Office, all of those, right? I could sit down and pop an episode of The Office or Friends.
Kind of like a comfort show almost.
Yep, easy.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch Dallas. Like this was more of a drama.
Yeah.
1 hour drama. Come on late at night. They ran up against or with Dynasty and Knots Landing and a bunch of these old historic shows that had these really great runs, right? Well, Dallas with Gene Hackman I think it's Hagman. Maybe I got that wrong. I think his last name's Hagman. But JR is the lead character. I like that show so much that when I was a roommate with a friend of mine back when I just started racing the Xfinity Series like 98, 99, it came on like TBS or something every day, and they ran it and we would watch it. We would sit down and watch reruns of Dallas every day and try not, we didn't want to miss the next, we were hooked. And and so I just always thought that show was classic. Amy from Texas had never seen an episode. And this past a couple nights ago, we sit down and watched the first 3 episodes ever of Dallas. And she was like, this is so horrible, it's good. She's like, it's so bad, it's good. She's like, I love it. It's terrible. I love everything about it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of those are the best when you're like, I can't stand this, but I can't get enough.
Yeah.
And we are hooked. And I think we're gonna literally. I think my goal, is to watch the entire catalog of Dallas with Amy. Now it might take us a while, but instead of the traditional like, hey, there's 2 seasons of this awesome show on Netflix. All my friends are talking about it. Let's watch these 2 seasons in the next week. We're going on a Dallas run.
All right.
Yeah, we're going back. We're going to park the modern stuff. We're going to pull out this old vintage television show. I wouldn't even call it a sitcom.
I don't think
I think it was a drama.
That's what we're doing.
That's
what we're doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman. There you go. God, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
The whole show. Victoria Principal.
Good
all
stuff.
that.
Never seen it.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to be your cup of tea. You would watch it and go, this is, I'm not into it. But once you start to kind of get hooked in the storylines and the
badness
things that's happening, you're kind of like, oh man, I got to see
what happens next.
Yeah, I got to see what happens with this deal that's happening.
All right.
But man, it gets so good. Dallas ran from 78 to 91.
It's like
damn,
400
freaking
episodes or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of episodes to kill.
Yes.
Oh
I can't wait till we get to the Who Shot JR part. Yeah. That was like the peak. That was
really?
Peak Dallas.
Okay. All right.
Man, they shot JR and that was a cliffhanger.
So that's a spoiler.
To the and then it went to the off season, right? And we weren't going to learn who shot him until the next season fires up. And I'm gonna tell you, Andrew, everyone out in that shop would be talking about it
at the water coolers.
Yes. Who shot JR? They had shirts. Who shot JR?
Wow.
Google it. See what pops up. It was a very big moment because there were only 3 channels, right? There wasn't much on TV. Wasn't like today where you got all these channels and all these shows.
Streaming and all that.
Yeah. Like
I have the answer.
I know who shot him.
Okay.
I'm just saying, but like, it was such a profound moment in network television that you can Google it now and see that it was quite the deal.
There are a bunch of shirts out there.
Yeah, it was a thing. Who shot JR?
Who shot JR?
Or I shot JR, whatever. The shirts.
Hell yeah.
Let's end the show. That's a great way to end it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Tune in next week to find out who shot JR.
Yeah, right.
Y'all take it easy. We'll see ya.